Tuesday, he wowed us with his work. Today, he rests. In 1 week, Justify ships to Belmont Park for a potential date with destiny. It's time for Road to the Triple Crown, presented by TwinSpires.com. Joe Christofek, Ed DeRosa on the morning after Justify had a very important work towards a potential Triple Crown run in the Belmont Stakes. It is a potential Triple Crown run, but will it be an actual Triple Crown? Based on what we've seen, Ed, I mean, all systems go. As Bob Baffert likes to say, it's one day at a time, but so far all those days have been very good ones.
They have. Bob also says we don't train scared, and he hasn't, which you have to appreciate. Certainly if you like the horse, you have to be happy with what appears to be actually a decent price on an undefeated three-time Grade 1 winner. He's looking like maybe even money based on some of the future book odds and things like that. So if you're a fan, you have to be thrilled. If you're a fan of the sport, you're thrilled that he's coming into it the right way. And here we have this breeze now, and I know you got to watch it live with Brandon Staubel. I'm sure he had plenty of good thoughts, but all systems go through the first week and a half since the Preakness.
Yeah, I mean, Martin Garcia was up for this breeze. Bob Baffert was on hand after he came in from California. He hadn't seen the horse in a week, and he liked what he saw. Martin Garcia has 2 Triple Crown race wins under his belt for Baffert. Works a lot of the horses in California, including Justify. 12 for the opening 8th, 23-3, 35-1. The final workout time was 46-4 for a half mile. He gallops out 59 3/5. And when Brandon was watching the work, and I saw a lot of reactions on Twitter, a lot of people thought he went 48 to the half. That's a sign of a good horse when you think he goes one time and he goes more than a second faster.
Yeah, and I got a couple comments, people wondering why there wasn't more, consternation over, oh, is this too fast, coming into a mile-and-a-half race, he's already raced twice in 2 weeks, et cetera, et cetera. Those are certainly good questions and things we would be asking leading into the Derby. We hear it all the time when fast works come. But again, as you said, as Brandon noted, didn't really look like he was going that fast. I also thought it was interesting as the rain started a little bit. Brandon mentioned that would probably tighten the track a little bit, so that probably contributed to the faster track as well. I can't knock the 46. I mean, it just looks so effortless doing it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you could tell by the gallop the day before that he was wanting to do something like that, and he did it well within his own power. I thought it was sensational. Doesn't matter what I think. It matters what Bob Baffert thinks.
So brought Martin Garcia in there. He knows he knows how it works, and so, he warmed up really nice. And I was talking to him on the radio the whole time, and he just went off. And I basically didn't say anything at all to Martin during the work. He just had him down in a nice little groove. I was surprised how easy, the time and how easy he was doing it. We just let him gallop out a little bit further down just to make sure he pulled up down there where Jimmy was. And he stopped, took a deep breath, turned around, and that's when he was happy when he turned around. So. That's what you want to see. I want to see that kind of work. I was hoping for that kind of work, just like American Pharoah. When he came back here, he looked like that. So we're just, I wish the race was this week.
One of the great things about being on the racetrack, whether you're a trainer, an owner, a jockey, a handicapper, Ed, everybody has an opinion. So the talk of the track right now is Justify, how he's been training. The vast majority of people think he's doing great. Others think it's going to be a challenge for him to go a mile and a half at Belmont Park, 5 weeks, with the foundation that he has. Obviously, it's not an easy test to win the Triple Crown, but everybody has an opinion.
That they do, including even Racing Hall of Fame trainers who have been there before. Dwayne Lucas has not won the Triple Crown, but he went for it with Charismatic, and he's tied with Bob Baffert for the most classic wins. Yeah,
at 14, and Bob Baffert knows that he's got a good one in Justify. He also knows that it's not easy to win the Triple Crown. He's failed a couple of times. Dwayne Lucas, though, has been taking him on with bravado throughout this Triple Crown run.
And Sporting Chance.
And he knows he's up against it, against Justify.
His efficiency of motion is so good. It is so effortless. From that work today, I thought he could have gone in 50 the way he did it. I mean, it was just effortless. There was no effort at all. When you have that efficiency of motion like that, I think the mile and a half is well within his scope.
Dwayne Lucas talking about the 1.5 miles, which is a question for some people. But the Belmont, to be a dangerous horse, you got to have a high cruising speed. People think, oh, it's a 1.5 miles. A late runner is probably going to benefit. That is usually not the case. Restoring Hope, who had a good work yesterday with Florent Drew aboard. If he goes in the Belmont, Bob says we want to put him on the lead and let Justify have a target to run at. So it's all interesting to hear the scenarios. But Dwayne Lucas has been around a long time, and he's not going to let him have it. But you know that he's concerned that Justify is just too good.
Yeah, definitely not going to let him have it. Going to take his best shot with Bravazzo. But, Dwayne's won this race with some favorites. He's upset it before with Commendable in 2000. So we know one guy, Bob says we don't train scared. Dwayne don't run scared. He'll be in there if he thinks he has the horse. But the distance is an interesting question. One of the reasons I didn't love Justify at 5-2 in the Derby was a little concerned about Scat Daddy. His record at 1.25 miles, not great. This just might be the right horse, who definitely has the right run style for the Belmont. 1.5 miles is a legitimate question, especially if they run at him like they have in the Preakness and Derby. He's earned it so far. No question about it. He'll have to earn it in the Belmont.
Lots of great promotions through TwinSpires.com every day for the horse players, and one specifically for the new horse players that relates to the Belmont Stakes. Ed, tell us about it. It's a $10 free bet for new players.
That's right. If you haven't signed up for TwinSpires before, now's as good a time as any to do it. If you sign up, register, put in that promo code JUSTIFY, and you'll get $10 in your account to bet. Don't need to deposit. Don't need to do anything else. Just sign up, get registered, $10 to bet. You can use it for the Belmont Stakes, or you can get going today. Plenty of good racing.
Now, Justify is walking the shed row. He's taking the day off after that workout yesterday, which is typical in the game of horse racing. But a horse that goes to the racetrack as often as possible, whether it's in a race or for training, is Bravazzo. You see him heading out onto the racetrack now for the designated training period. I had another good gallop yesterday. Everybody's been happy with what they've seen from Bravazzo and some of the other horses on the grounds here. This horse is a warrior. We were concerned with him after the clunker he threw in the Louisiana Derby, but he ran better than everyone thought based on the chart. Looking back at the Kentucky Derby with that wide trip, and then obviously he ran lights out in the Preakness.
Yeah, shades of another horse the coach trained going back 23 years, but Thunder Gulch threw in a clunker in his final prep for the Derby and went off at ridiculous odds in the Derby relative to what he had accomplished before the Bluegrass and won. Now, of course, Bravazzo didn't win, but as you said, ran well in the Preakness, and then Thunder Gulch came back and won the Belmont. So the coach has been here before with that type of form cycle. Bravazzo certainly a major threat in the Belmont.
Lots of people watching on various outlets across the world here on the Road to the Triple Crown show presented by TwinSpires.com. And if you've got a question, please send it in. We've got a little bit of extra time today to maybe get to some fan questions. We're getting closer and closer to the Belmont Stakes. The field is starting to get a little bit more clear as we move forward. So if you have a question, fire it in. Ed and I will do our best to answer it.
And I think we actually already have a question.
Yeah, we've got a couple coming in. Wow, people are responding. So why isn't Justify training this morning? Maggie on Facebook asks that. Well, I kind of answered that about a minute or two ago. Basically, he had a strong workout yesterday. And when horses have activity, when they ramp it up a little bit, whether it's a race or whether it's a strong workout, a lot of times the next day, Ed, they take the day off. They just walk the shed row, stretch their legs a little bit, but we won't see him on the racetrack today.
No, and a key to that, I think, is really what happens the next few days when he returns to the track. Another clocker who's here at Churchill Downs, Bruno DiGiulio, preaches this on Twitter. It's not necessarily how they work that's part of the puzzle, but how they come out of it, how they look in the days moving forward is as much about how they're training up to a race as the work itself. So we'll definitely be eager to see Justify on the track tomorrow. Brandon will be joining you, so we'll get his thoughts live.
This is a great question for Bob Baffert or Jimmy Barnes, or for a lot of people if they were sitting here, and it's all speculative. But we've got a question from Debbie on Facebook. Who would win a race between American Pharoah and Justify? Now, I think you have to kind of take it into context and say, okay, how far is the race? Where's it being run? Obviously, American Pharoah won the Triple Crown, so more accomplished. But our job in this game as analysts is to scout horses and figure out who's better than who. So let me theoretically give you 1.25 mile Churchill Downs match race, American Pharoah versus Justify. What do you think, Ed?
Wow, and a match race is good because we know they're both capable of being forwardly placed.
Right.
I would say because Bob said he likes a target for Justify, I'll actually take American Pharoah in a match race. What he did in the Belmont and Breeders' Cup Classic when all the chips were in the middle and ran all those horses off his feet, gate to wire, I think he gets the edge in that scenario. So I'll say American Pharoah.
Yeah, until Justify wins the Triple Crown, I'm going to go with American Pharoah, too, because he's done it. And I know we said 1.25 mile Churchill Downs, and both horses were able to accomplish a victory in the Kentucky Derby. But I want to see how Justify, not only runs in the Belmont Stakes, but finishes out his campaign. American Pharoah proved that Justify still got a little bit to prove.
Agreed. But, that's how you might get a better price. Justify could be a higher price since American Pharoah's done more. If you had said 1.1 miles on the dirt, maybe I go with Justify. But a match race at 1.25 miles, I'll take the Triple Crown champion.
All right, we got one more question here. Let's go to Derek on Twitter. Which horse went for the Triple Crown that didn't win it shocked you the most? Which horse did you think really was going to do it in recent years, obviously, in our lifetime?
I definitely thought Smarty Jones was the one in 2004. Just the hoopla with him training at Philadelphia Park, now Parks. He just seemed best. I mean, Lionheart I thought was a good horse. He put him away, then had the record Preakness, and he just came into the Belmont. Similar to Justify, I mean, it looked like all systems go, and Birdstone collared him, and they took the race to him. But I thought going into it, Smarty Jones, even more than Big Brown, who was 1-5.
Right.
Just see maybe the tank was empty in there. Real Quiet was a personal favorite, but I knew Victory Gallop would really challenge him. Smarty Jones definitely was the one I thought would get it done.
I would agree, and Smarty Jones ran a winning race in that Belmont, man. I mean,
no question.
They took him on early. They took him on in the middle. They took him on late. I mean, he was softened up, obviously, going 1.25 miles. And we talk about it being, a galloper's race. You don't see a fast pace in the Belmont very early, but he was challenged every step of the way, and a legitimate closer who just sat back and waited to make his move, and Birdstone came and got him.
And that was a great crop. I mean, we've talked a lot about how good Pharoah's crop was. This crop coming into the Derby, certainly Street Sense, Curlin, Rags to Riches in 2007. But that 2004 group, I mean, Birdstone, Grade 1 winner at 2. Went on to win the Travers, Rock Hard 10, and Eddington, both won Grade 1 races as 4-year-olds. Smarty Jones, of course, the champion 3-year-old. So, and all 4 of those horses I mentioned are sort of who took it to, or 3 horses are who took it to Smarty Jones in that Belmont. It was a tall order. He almost got it done. He didn't, but I will say I do think that was Tom Durkin's greatest call. So we're all big fans of Tom and miss him in the booth, but that's a call I revisit because that was poetry. So that's a favorite Belmont for a lot of reasons.
I was like to tell Travis Stone before he calls the Derby that your race call will go down in history. People will be listening to it for hundreds of years to come, and that's one of Durkin's best, one amongst many, but certainly a thrilling Belmont when Birdstone beats Smarty Jones. Near misses, Bob Baffert has had a couple of them. His first ever attempt with Silver Charm, a near miss behind Touch Gold. Then Real Quiet, as you mentioned, looked like a winner on the turn for home, but Victory Gallop just kept coming and coming and coming, and that was...
It was a head bob, and I mean, there's even talk of Real Quiet had gotten his nose down, that he may have come down via DQ. I'm dubious that would ever happen in a Triple Crown race, but stewards say they would have taken him down, so who knows? There's some parallel universe somewhere where it happened, but...
Yeah. Well, I mean, these guys are going to take a shot at him. I mean, Justify, as D. Wayne Lucas said, we're not just going to give him the race, and there are some accomplished trainers in this year's Belmont field, like there always are, with Steve Asmussen, who's got a Belmont win, D. Wayne Lucas, who we mentioned, Hall of Famer Bill Mott, who may have the best shot of all against him with Hofburg. Todd Pletcher is in the race, not with Audible, unfortunately, but he does have a live shot potentially in Vino Rosso. Those connections...
And maybe Noble Indy.
And Noble Indy. But those connections have been pointing for the Belmont in as much as they pointed to the Derby because they're New Yorkers, the mile and a half, the pedigree, so on and so forth. So you know, if all is going well with Vino Rosso, that he could be a major player and take a huge step forward as well.
Absolutely, and you didn't even mention my top pick. Blended
Citizen. Hey, and that's Doug O'Neill, and he knows a thing or two about winning a Triple Crown race as well.
When he prepped locally in the Peter Pan and won, so you know, a horse who had some dirt questions to get a win like that over the racetrack, certainly boosting my confidence to play him at 20-1 or better. But you know, I was going over the field with Scott Shapiro today, and I mean, as we've said multiple times, not to be a broken record, but he'll definitely earn it. You know, there won't be any gimmies with Hofberg in there, Vino Rosso, and Noble Indy, who, yeah, is definitely probably a little below Vino Rosso if you were going to rake their win chances. I think the Louisiana races have come back kind of sneaky good. I mean, people were down on them a little bit, especially after the Bravazzo and Snapper Sinclair didn't run too well in the Louisiana Derby. We weren't really sure to make a Lone Sailor being runner-up. I thought My Boy Jack and Lone Sailor acquitted themselves well. Yeah, they were no match for Justify in the Derby. Noble Indy had no shot with that trip from the outside. With the Belmont, the time off, line and wait, maybe there's an upset chance there. I'm definitely not down in Louisiana Derby, especially seeing his Bravazzo, who we see on the screen now, has run pretty well in the Triple Crown races.
Yeah, it's the Bravazzo show on the racetrack so far this morning. Again, Justify walking the shed row this morning after his workout yesterday, in case you tuned in to see him. We've got some more questions coming in on social media, and this is something that's been out there lately. I don't know why. I don't know. It comes up every year. But Melissa on Facebook is asking, how do you feel about horses that didn't race in the Derby being allowed to run in the Preakness or Belmont? And to take that a step forward, Melissa, and thanks for the question, people are asking, if you don't run in the Derby and you don't run in the Preakness, why should you be allowed to run in the Belmont? Well, I'll start, and then I'll let you continue, Ed, and then I'll put a wrap on it. It's like any other horse race. Every horse is eligible. If you're eligible under the conditions, you're eligible for the race. This isn't a situation where, hey, you got to run in the Derby and the Preakness in order to run in the Belmont. I mean, they're three completely different races.
Yeah, they are, and they're classic races, and, you know, the Derby is the most prestigious and the biggest race in the world, but all three do stand on their own as classic races, and they're very important to breeders and owners and fans alike to win. So they are separate, and the reality is, yeah, it's fun. The Triple Crown, it's a tremendous accomplishment. It is made up. You know, the racing, the people who founded racing didn't come up with this from, you know, the beginning of time as a series where it was expected that you would run in all three. And even when it was constituted, the Triple Crown, by a journalist, that was a time when horses would run in races between the three. Horses were running so often that they would, you know, run in the Jersey Derby. So, times have changed. Horses target races differently. You can't force them to run in two or three or all three.
You can't force them to do anything. I mean, a couple of years ago, Tonalist was the horse that kind of brought this conversation about because he didn't run in the Derby or the Preakness, and then he won the Belmont, right? So it was like, okay, well, you know, there was a whole debacle with California Chrome, et cetera. All right, we've got a lot of questions coming in here, so let's try to get to some of them. Let's talk about, this is a long question here, but I'm going to take it from Kalis on Facebook. What is your opinion of Justify's competition this Kentucky Derby and Triple Crown season? Is it more intense than American Pharaohs was, or was the track condition a factor in Justify winning both the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness? Going into this year's Derby, Ed, we were talking about how ridiculously strong this crop was. Mendelssohn didn't have a fair trip in the Derby. A lot of horses didn't, but a lot of horses didn't come back for the Preakness, and Justify won that race as well. Going to get some fresh shots in the Belmont, but I think if you stack the two crops up leading into the Derby, coming out of it, and going into the Belmont, and it's a shame that Audible's not going to be able to run because I think he would have been one of the main competitors to Justify. I think this crop probably better than the one American Pharaoh beat. Horse for horse.
Yeah, going into the Pharaoh's Derby, there was similar talk. Dortmund, firing line, They didn't pan out post-Derby, but Frosted went on to win the Met Mile. Keen Ice, of course, upset American Pharoah in the Travers. That was a pretty good group, and Frosted was in that Belmont Stakes, along with Move Taij, who is a Grade 1 winner as well, post-Triple Crown. I think they're pretty similar. I would say this Belmont Stakes looks to be setting up a little tougher than American Pharoah's, only because there's A, more horses. I think that's a factor. And B, the horses that are going to compete against him have enough different run styles that it's sort of setting up similar to what we saw in the Derby, which Justify did resist all challengers, and that 04 Belmont we talked about where Smarty Jones didn't. But I think Justify is going to be challenged several times in the Belmont Stakes. You got front runners, you got pressers, you got closers.
Right.
He'll have to earn it.
Yeah, good. He should have
I'll say
to.
this is a little tougher.
Yeah, I would agree. I think this one's tougher. And again, we'll know a lot more after this Belmont is run.
Right.
And then moving forward through the Summer Jewels, the Haskell, the Travers, all the Breeders' Cup Classic, obviously, as well. And American Pharoah won the Breeders' Cup Classic as a 3-year-old, defeating older horses. So, again, comparing apples to oranges.
Yeah, I mean, we'll probably end up talking more about this in October when as we're getting ready for the Breeders' Cup right here in November. But that group that American Pharoah beat, Liam's Map was lacking, and Beholder would have been great to see those two in there. But Tonalist, Honor Code, he was good.
All right, so we got to see Bravazzo. We got to see Free Drop Billy on the track this morning. Again, Justify walking the shed row. We got to see a little bit of Tenfold as well. Tenfold, we'll talk more about him in a second, as he is maybe one of the major players against Justify. But we talked about TwinSpires.com and some of the great promotions that they're running. They've got the $10 free wager for new players. Once you join, there's a lot of great promotions every day, and especially leading up to the Belmont Stakes, a couple of new ones, including the Belmont Bankroll Builder. Opt into the TwinSpires Belmont Bankroll Builder to start earning your $25 wagering bonus. It's free money beginning June 1st. Each day you bet at least $50 on races from Belmont will give you a $5 bonus to play the Belmont Stakes Day card. Not only the Belmont Stakes, but all those great stake races on the day in Elmont, New York, up to $25 total. So again, $25 in free money to be earned. It's available to all TwinSpires.com players. All you need to do is opt into the promotion at TwinSpires.com/offers to be eligible for the Belmont Bankroll Builder ad.
Yeah, that's a great day at Belmont Stakes. Obviously, Justify, the Derby winner, and we'll also have the Oaks winner, Monomoy Girl, running in the Acorn. And then there's the Met Mile as well, which Patch was nominated. So a lot of fan favorites on different fronts. I'm certainly looking forward to seeing the Oaks winner in action. She worked a couple days ago. I won't say she's as exciting as a potential Triple Crown winner, but when you look at what she's accomplished in her career, she's certainly one of the most exciting 3-year-olds.
All right, let's see if we got another social media question as well moving forward here. Amy from Facebook asks, who are the come-from-behind horses that Justify should be worried about? We talked about Birdstone catching Smarty Jones. You talked about a lot of horses taking shots at Justify at different points of the race. If we get a similar scenario to what Smarty Jones faced, who do you think the Birdstone could be?
Blended Citizen.
Of course.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's a come-from-behind type, and he has, his jockey, a lot of people may not be familiar with Kyle Fry, but his ride in the Jeff Ruby Stakes, he was fearless. He went between horses twice to get good position, and the punch was enough up the rail to get the job done there. May not need quite that bold move in the Belmont, as they typically get pretty strung out, turning for home, going a mile and a half. But I like the fit of the jockey for this type of race. They are going to have to run at Justify early, though, to give Blended Citizen the best chance. And I think they will. Bravazzo is going to be close tenfold. I definitely expect some moves down the backstretch.
And, of course, Hofburg is a horse that a lot of people are looking at. Bill Mott's had success in the Belmont Stakes before. And Hofburg was a now horse going into the Kentucky Derby. May not have had a fair crack, but the Belmont is the race that everybody thought coming into this Triple Crown season when he proved himself and his class that was going to suit Hofburg best. and he's going to be rallying from off the pace. The question is, what kind of price are you going to get on Hofberg? Because, again, he's going to be the chatter going into the Belmont Stakes, and you're probably going to have to take a shorter price than maybe you would like.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big question. I know a lot of people like him, including the beast of the Belmont, Anthony Stabile, a good friend and colleague up in New York, who's he's gotten a couple prices lately. Tonalist was a horse he was very high on, in particular to upset California Chrome, but he's not going to get the kind of price here on Hofberg, who's also by Tapit. I mean, 5-2, 3-1. I mean, he's going to be the clear second choice, no doubt about it. I guess Gronkowski might take silly money, but I don't know if that'll be enough to give you the price you want on Hofberg.
I don't think the kind of money he would take in the Derby, though.
Right.
I mean, if he was in the Derby, he's still going to take some silly money, though. We'll get one more question in from here because it's from Dean in New Zealand. Dean, welcome. A lot of people watching from all over the world. Who are the possible front runners in the Belmont? Who do you think is going to take on Justify relentlessly for the lead? And do you think the opening quarter will be in the 23-second range? I will say no to the opening quarter being that fast. Just because, like we said, it's a galloper's race. It's a mile and a half. There's no rabbit in this race. I mean, we talked about restoring hope. Bob Baffert said he's going to send him early on. Noble Indy's in the race probably to mix it up early as well because Todd Pletcher also has Vino Rosso. He's not a rabbit because he's got credentials in his own right. But, you know, the Belmont Stakes, traditionally, there's not a crazy wicked pace. If 2 or 3 horses go unexpectedly, Justify, I think, can sit third or fourth if he has to. He's going to be galloping at his speed.
And I think that's part of the reason why Restoring Hope is in. He's sort of like a reverse cagey strategic rabbit where Bob has Restoring Hope that if Todd gets wild hair and says, we're going to send Noble Indy, Restoring Hope can be the one to run with Noble Indy, and then Justify still sits. If Wayne says, well, we're going to send Bravazzo, then Restoring Hope can be the one that goes with him and Justify can sit. So Restoring Hope makes it really interesting if you have another front runner because I think he's the one that tried to mess that up. And like you said, Justify ends up sitting. If anyone pulls a Datara, though, a gate-to-wire huge upset, I would say it'd be Noble Indy.
Yeah. All right, let's take a look at how you can gain more information on Justify's journey to the Triple Crown. And it's real easy. All you have to do for the latest videos and insight into Justify's journey is join our email list at KentuckyDerby.com. Videos, insight, Justify's journey to the Triple Crown. Get all the information by joining our email list at KentuckyDerby.com. All right, Ed, based on everything I'm hearing today, you and I weren't on Justify in the Derby of the Preakness. I'm getting a sense that you might be on him for the Belmont.
No, well, we should play poker because you'd be wrong. I mean, he's clearly the most likely winner, and I've seen some prices even 6-5, and that's where you have to be interested. And I'll say it like I did Derby and Preakness. If it's Justify, blended Citizen Exacta, I'm not going to lose. I'm not going to let him beat me just because he wins if the horse I like at a big price is underneath. But as a top pick, I'm not picking him.
All right, well, I mean, to me, I'm not stubborn. I might jump on the bandwagon. It's not too late. I just love the way he's training, and I love the way the Belmont potentially sets up. We'll be right back on this program again tomorrow, 7:20 in the morning. Justify expected to be back on the racetrack. For Ed DeRosa, I'm Joe Christofak. Road to the Triple Crown, presented by TwinSpires.com.